everybody, I'm Meredith Clark from Region 10 ESC, and in this short video, we will learn about authentic texts and why we should use them in the World Languages classroom and with your World Language curriculum. On the first slide here, you'll see the link to our webpage, so you can get more information there if you need. And you can also contact me at any time if you need. My email address is right there. Okay, in this video, we are going to answer the questions: what is an authentic text? Why do I need to use them? And how do I find high quality authentic texts efficiently? Okay, because I have teachers tell me, oh, it took me 2 hours to find this. No, we don't want anybody doing that. Okay, so let's tackle this first question. What is an authentic text? All right, now, generally in the profession, what we would say an authentic text is content created by native speakers for native speakers. Okay, now we can get into some controversial ideas about what is a native speaker, who is, who isn't. For example, my first language is English, but I have an advanced level of Spanish. If I wrote an essay and published it in a journal, would it not be authentic? Okay, so generally, instead of focusing on whether the speaker is native or not, I want you to think, who is the intended audience? I think that really clears up a lot of our questions. If the intended audience is language students, what tends to happen is that we simplify the language, or we water down the language, and we may create materials or use materials from other people that aren't culturally authentic, okay? So as a general rule, when you find content, ask yourself, is this created for students who are learning the language? If the answer is yes, it's probably not what we would consider an authentic source, okay? So just use that general rule of thumb. Okay, here are a few examples, okay? The first example there, we have a video that is about fashion trends made by a young person living in Spain. Her audience is her followers, who are all Spanish speakers. This is an authentic source. Le Monde, which is a French newspaper published in France, is an authentic source. TPRS stories, as entertaining as most of them are not authentic sources because they are designed for language learners. And many passages that you will find in the textbook are also not authentic texts because they're designed for students and the language is highly simplified. You can find some excerpts of literature, poems, songs in a textbook. Those are authentic texts, but by far, generally what we see in textbooks are non-authentic materials. Okay, so now we know what an authentic text is. Why should we use it? Good question. Okay, I figure it's like always harder to implement something if you don't know why you're doing it. Okay, so number one answer, the TEKS tell us that we need to use authentic text, and it's very clearly labeled under the interpretive mode of communication that students are going to comprehend culturally authentic texts. Okay, so why should we use them? Number one, the TEKS. Okay. Number two, the second reason we should use them is that it's going to help you do better on your T-test score, because you need to be in alignment with the standards. You need to use aligned resources. Authentic texts are usually about topics that hit beauty and aesthetics, science and technology. So it's very easy to integrate learning with other disciplines when you're using authentic texts. And using an authentic text, because of the level of rigor, students are trying to make meaning out of something that they may only understand keywords and details. They're inferring the meaning of unknown words. That is very rigorous, and we should allow you to do well on your T-test score for using different types of thinking. Okay? Also, to teach your unit correctly or well, you need to use authentic text, because that's what students will be exposed to on their summative exam. So if you go 5 weeks with no authentic sources and then you give them that summative exam, which has an authentic source on it, kids are unlikely to do well. Okay, so we need to be using them for throughout. Okay, how do I find quality, authentic text? Next question. This is where I get a lot of feedback from teachers like, I don't know, this takes too long, it's not worth it. Okay, and I'm going to show you some tricks, okay, to speed up the process and help you find things that are more high quality. Okay, so I will say the number one thing is your search criteria determines how long you spend searching on the internet. Okay, now what is typically not effective, and when I see teachers who are kind of novice authentic text finders, what they typically do is type in something in the Google search like body parts in Spanish or family description using whatever the verb is, okay? And those are very textbook driven topics. So when you search for Google in these topics, what you're going to get are a lot of teacher-made resources. French family tree, right? That's like a typical thing that language teachers do, okay? So those kinds of searches are not effective because they're going to give you a lot of materials that aren't authentic, that are either created by teachers or students, likely. Okay, it's also not effective to spend more than 10 minutes looking for an authentic text. Okay, so if your searches are taking you longer than that, then really rethink your search criteria. One thing that is super effective is that instead of thinking about a text or the topic, think about places first, because all places and businesses have websites. So if you're doing beauty and aesthetics, we can think fashion companies, clothing stores, designer websites, museums, right? If we're talking about cultural history, there are tons of things for kids to access that are good resources, and they're linked to places. So search for places before you search for that traditional topic, okay? Also, searching for publications works very well. So instead of, thinking about like, oh, I'm going to put in chores people have to do at home in Spanish. Instead of searching for that, because that's not going to be effective, that's going to give me a bunch of inauthentic materials. What I'm going to put is, a maybe Good Housekeeping in Spanish, right? Or whatever the Consumer Reports publication would be that has to do with maybe objects that help us do work more efficiently at home. Okay, so think about publications. Okay, so again, think about places and publications. Okay. Okay, and here's my favorite trick of all, guys. Google Maps. Okay, when I am searching for authentic texts related to places, let's say I have never been to Santiago de Chile. Okay, how do I know where to find a place? I don't. Okay, so I go to Google Maps and I type in restaurantes en Santiago de Chile. Okay, this is what pops up when I search in a specific area. Now, once I find a restaurant that looks okay on my map, I go in and choose one, and places almost always have a website. So then I click very quickly on the website and I can see this is the home page of the restaurant. Okay, there's tons of cognates on here. There's lots of good inferencing opportunities, and it's all culturally authentic. You're going to see Chilean prices. You're going to see the types of food. And it took me probably 2 minutes to find that authentic text. Okay. So use Google Maps. Also, another good reminder is use Google Dot and then the initials for the country. So for Google Mexico, it's Google.mx. Okay, for Google Brazil, it's Google.br, Google.cl for Chile. Okay, these are just some examples. So if you're not sure what Google to use for the target country, then that's something that you can Google. Okay, all right, so let's look here. How does this information shape how I teach? So we now know what an authentic text is, why we need to use it, and we know how to find authentic texts. okay, that are high quality, and we know how to find them efficiently. Why is all this important? Because students acquire language through input. And if you put fake input in front of the kids, like if the bulk of the text or the content you're putting in front of the kids is not authentic, then this is the scenario we get. Okay, students are going to acquire the language that you give them in class. We know most of our students don't have contact with the target language outside of our class. So do you want your students acquiring canned or authentic language? It's really up to us, okay? So I'd like to again push the boundaries of how we define ourselves in our profession, and we're not language teachers. Our number one job, other than teaching the TEKS, right, is to create an environment for second language acquisition to occur and to teach communication, that's the TEKS, and literacy skills, also the TEKS. Okay, so by using authentic texts in class, we can teach communication and we can teach literacy skills. Okay, so what are the success criteria for finding authentic texts? These are just kind of some good things to, if you're thinking, oh, how do I know if I'm doing this right? Okay, I would say for your team, everybody needs to know the difference between an authentic and a not authentic text. Okay, before your unit, you should work with your colleagues to find at least 5 authentic texts for your unit before the unit starts. Okay, in your PLC time, vet each other's texts, okay, and make sure that they're age appropriate, relevant, etc. Okay, and then learn how to teach an authentic text, which you'll find in an upcoming video. Okay, as always, Region 10 is here to help. You can find learning opportunities on our webpage. And I just want to thank you guys so much for your attention today. I hope you found the information in the video helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye. Thank you.